I am making this video under protest. Hey, party people. This video is everything I know about grading. That's it. Like, there is not going to be any follow-up to this video because I'm going to cover everything I know about grading in this video, and I do not plan on learning much more. On purpose. Maybe I'll learn something on accident, okay? But it's not going to be an area of expertise that I will be pursuing. As the title may indicate, designers do not need to learn how to grade because designers do not grade. If you go into a job interview for a fashion design position, which has been generally my role in the industry, for a fashion designer, assistant fashion designer, design associate, design director, and you go in there, you are not going to be asked to grade a pattern as like part of your interview test. If they do, you're interviewing for something that is not a fashion design job, okay? I once worked at a 6-person company. Everyone, okay, the whole office, we 6 of us did everything, and never did anyone ask me to grade a pattern, okay? They asked me to go get the scissors sharpened. They asked me to take samples to get buttonholes punched into jackets and shirts, okay? I've been asked to make all kinds of phone calls and send emails and draw things. Never have I been asked to grade a pattern. However, if you do walk into an interview as a fashion designer and you don't know what grading is and you don't know what a grade rule is, you're in trouble. So let's talk about it. All right. Number 1, what is grading? Grading is making sizes. Graders grade the pattern. Okay. Graders grade the pattern. Okay. This could be a service a vertically integrated production facility provides. You know, a vertically integrated production facility is one of those places where they do everything. You know, they cut, they sew, they make patterns, the whole shebang. Or you can send it to a place that only does grading. I've done both types of grading. I think that the kind of companies that do only grading, they're kind of going out of business. They're being kind of phased out by all these big vertically integrated production facilities that cater to this growing market of people who want to start their own fashion brand. And they want like a one-stop shop. They want to find someone that they can kind of moderately trust to do things right and just stick with that one person instead of shopping for 12 different vendors to do all the things they need them to do, which, I get the convenience, okay? But that does mean that some of these like mom and pop specializing in grading shops are going out of business. But you have those options. As I've said many times, when you make your sample, you start with your middle size, the middle size of your range. Maybe that's a size 10. Maybe that's a size 14. Maybe that's a size 6, okay? And grading up means you're making sizes bigger in your range, within your range. And grading down means making sizes smaller, okay? Making the pattern smaller to fit a size 4, to fit a size 2, okay? Grading specs are not the same as body specs. Okay, so when you have a fit model, you got to measure your fit model so you know that your sample will fit in, on your fit model. So maybe let's say your fit model is a 34, 27, 34. Those are her body specs. That's your fit model's body specs. But clothing specs are completely different. Okay? Maybe you're making a dress that's a more boxy fit. Okay? It's more of a shift dress. And so even though the fit model is a 27-inch waist, maybe the waist on your dress is a 31. Okay? So your clothing specs on your spec sheet in your tech pack should feature the clothing specs, so a 31-inch waist, and maybe the hip is like now 37 instead of the body's original 34. So your specs on your tech pack should have your clothing specs, and your grade rule on your tech pack should feature the grade of your clothing specs. Okay, so what is a grade rule? A grade rule is absolutely part of your tech pack. Okay, and yes, I do have a grade rule sheet in the tech pack that I sell online. And the grade rule is basically the designer's instructions, the brand's instructions to the grader. Hey, next size up, I want this to be 1 inch wider. On the next size up, I want the length to be 1/4 inch longer. Okay? The next size up, I want the little button placket to not get any longer at all. I want the button placket to remain the same length and width. Okay? All these things need to be included, whether there are any changes or not. When you look at grading specs, it's generally not like the medium is a 30-inch waist, and the large is a 31-inch waist, and the small is a 30-inch. Usually you just see it in sheets of plus 1 inch, plus 2 inches, plus 1/4 inch, minus 1/4 inch, whatever. Okay? Of course, I have book recommendations. Who am I? Come on now. Okay? So in this example, on this side, we have all these spec descriptions, center front link, center back link, all these things. The middle size, her middle size is a 10. And it's just marked X. It's whatever the spec is, ultimately. Okay? And then when you go down a size to an 8, her front length is minus 1/4 of an inch. Her center front length is minus 1/4 of an inch, etc., etc. Okay? And then you get to some like the bottom band, the ribbing height on the bottom band, she doesn't want it to change across any of the sizes. So -0, -0, -0, +0, +0, +0. Okay? And then this last column, okay, is a plus or minus tolerance. And you should have this plus or minus tolerance in your regular specs also, which is how much of a discrepancy will you tolerate and still accept as okay. So with something like she wants a 1-inch difference in the chest, so she will tolerate a 1/2 inch in error. Okay? For something so little, she will only accept a 1/4 inch tolerance, a 1/4 inch margin of error. Okay? Tolerance is margin of error that the brand is willing to accept. This is the grade rule. This is also something that can happen where this is the shoulder width. And as the size gets bigger, she's adding an 1/8 of an inch, adding an 1/8 of an inch. As the sizes get smaller, the next size down, size 8, she does not want you to decrease the shoulder width. When you get to a size 6, she wants you to decrease the shoulder width 1/8 of an inch. And then for a size 4, she doesn't want you to decrease it anymore from a size 6. Okay? So there are all these things that you can do. Okay? You can decrease and increase the size like every other size. You can keep something the same size all the way. You can just do even increments, size to size to size. Something that happens a lot, especially in women's wear, is you get to these bigger sizes, and sometimes the brands will put bigger gaps between the sizes. Like you'll do plus 1 inch for the waist at a size 10, plus 1 at a size 12, plus 1 at a size 14, and then all of a sudden they'll do plus 1.5 for a size 16, plus 1.5 for a size 18, and start making bigger and bigger gaps between sizes. That is something a lot of brands also do. And if at this point you're like, I'm so bored, this is the most boring crap I've ever heard. Why do we care? I don't want to, yeah, okay, that's a lot of designers, but you asked, okay? You asked. I'm explaining grading. This is literally grading, setting the grade rule, okay? The grade rule is part of your tech pack, okay? The tech pack of any garment. The brand is responsible for the grade rule, okay? And within that brand, whoever they choose to make the brand rule, the grade rule is up to them. So it can be a designer, it can be a tech designer, just somebody in the product development team. It kind of depends on how big the organization is. But the brand sets the grade rule. A factory may send over a grade rule, like maybe you're completely lost and you don't know how to set a grade rule, and you ask them, hey, you make a lot of jeans. Do you have a standard grade rule for jeans? And maybe they'll send you one and you can look it over, you can approve it, or you can make changes to it. But I recommend you pick up some books with different grade rules, look up some different grade rules to see what you want. This is a book I have recommended often for technical design in general. This is the Complete Guide to Size, Specification, and Technical Design by Paula J. Myers McDivitt. This is in my Amazon book recommendations page, which I will link below in the description. I have the second edition. I am aware that there is a newer edition with the orange cover. I have not even cracked that one open, but I like this one. It's good for all technical design, flats, how to measure garments, how to do, tech packs and size specs and how to measure, etc. And then she does have several charts in the back, men's wear, children's wear, graded, general grade rules, stuff like that. Okay, this is so old, it's got a CD-ROM that I have never used. Okay, I don't even think I have any machinery that accepts a CD-ROM anymore. This is also one I have recommended before. This is the Spec Manual by Michelle Weston Bryant and Diane Demers. I don't know. This is also a second edition. Maybe there's a newer one, but this is the one I have. And this one is, the content is similar. I think in general it is less in depth, but it has a lot of overlapping information from different sources, but I like that because I like comparing. I like looking through similar books and seeing what I can learn overall, seeing like the Venn diagram of information. There are going to be things that she covers that she doesn't cover and vice versa. And they also have some grade rules in the back. Maybe you can compare, contrast. Okay. So these books are good for designers and tech designers and anyone who wants to know more about developing specs, flats, and grade rules. Did you read the title of this video, or did you just click on it because I'm wearing this hat? It's fine. I also like this hat a lot. I do know how to grade. The very most basic mechanics of grading. Okay, I know what it is. I can recognize it. But am I good at it? No. No. I do not have a ton of experience. However, I did pick up this book a long time ago. This is Jack Hanford's Professional Pattern Grading for Women's, Men's, and Children's Apparel. It gives you step-by-step instructions. Well, not really step-by-step, but like in this chart, this is how you grade a two-piece sleeve. And so you go into these corners, like you move out 1/8 of an inch, out and in 1/8 of an inch, and move your pattern, up and down, in and out. Like, it gives you directions on how to manually grade a pattern. Are there better books on grading out there? I literally don't know. This is the only book I bought just so I could be familiar with grading on my very, very basic designer level. Okay. But I found this to be easy to follow personally, to do a few experiments. So there's that. To recap, within the brand, you can have a designer do the grade rule. You could do a tech designer, someone in product development to do the grade rule, but the brand is responsible for the grade rule. When does the grading and grade rule happen in the timeline of design and production? Grading happens at the top of production. Okay, so when you run a wholesale business, you make your samples and you go to market. And that can mean sending samples to your sales rep, your traveling sales rep, sending samples to a showroom, making appointments with wholesale buyers, sending them down a runway, shooting your lookbook, all these things. And then you collect all your wholesale orders, and then you add them all up to see what is going to be produced. Not every style is going to be produced, and not every size of each style and not every color of each size is going to be produced. So you have to add all those up. And honestly, if you only get one order for a size 14 of one style, maybe it's not worth grading that. But that's a whole nother conversation. Okay. So I wouldn't grade patterns or do any size sets, put in all that time and effort and money until I know there's an order or a dozen for it. Okay. So when you're first sending out your tech pack to your factory to get your samples made, you don't need to worry about having a grade rule then. Okay. So don't worry about that from the get. It's only when you go into production and you get orders for a thing that you need to worry about the grade rule. If you're D2C, and kind of standard D2C, not anything like made to order, made to measure, cut to order, or anything like that, you need to have your production done before you post the listings so you can ship out as soon as you get the orders. So you kind of have to guess what sizes are going to sell. Okay. This is why you need to keep track of your previous sales numbers and see what colors sell, what sizes sell for your brand, and make your predictions for your inventory in a future season. But you have to have that inventory done, so you need to get your grading done in order to make the bulk production. If you're doing both, if you're selling to department stores and you're selling your own storefronts, you need to operate like a wholesale business, okay? And it's like a wholesale business, plus you're making extra inventory to sell in your own storefronts. If you are doing a new silhouette, okay, a new fit, you should do a size set. If you're a jeans company and the only thing you changed is a wash, or, you've decided we're doing boot cuts now and you just changed the flare from the knee down, you don't need to do a size set. Okay. You've got your grade. It's fine. Okay. If it's a fit if you're going into jeans for the first time ever, I would do a size set. I would fit it on a bunch of people of different sizes and test that size set before you start shipping or producing, for that matter. Okay. A question I get is a lot about kind of standardized sizing. All right. So why should the brand set the grade rule? Isn't there an industry-wide standard for sizing? And the answer is no. I have talked about this at length. I talked about it in my What is Midsize video in particular. And yeah, there is no industry standard, international industry standard for what a size 6 is, for what a size 16 is. That's why, anytime you talk to a woman about what size she is, she'll say things like, I'm like a 18, 20 usually. And then sometimes, like some brands, I can wear. If you're a woman who describes her body like that, I'm a size XY usually. And then some brands, I'm a size Z. If you're one of these women, raise your hand in the comments. It'll be near every woman and a lot of men. Here are some reasons why a brand should set their own grade rule. Number one, your fit should be part of your brand DNA. I teach a flats class on my Patreon. You can totally still join us if you want, patreon.com/LoiHong, but we're learning how to do flats. And the other day I was working on blazers. And so we're doing a single button blazer from McQueen and a double breasted blazer from Dries Van Noten. And I was talking about their fits and their shoulders. And I chose the two of them because they're very different from one another, even within the blazer category. And I was like, look at how nipped in the waist, how sharp, how closely fitted the McQueen jacket is. Look at the McQueen shoulder, how sharp and squared off that top of the arm's eye is, all these things, right? And then when we moved on to the Dries Van Noten blazer, I was like, look at this relaxed fit. It clearly is tapered at the waist, but it's much more relaxed fit. And the shoulder, it's padded, it's tailored, absolutely, but it's got a rounder shoulder, The whole overall look is more relaxed. And I think that those are really in line with their brands and how we think of the fits from those brands. Sharply tailored, nipped in at the waist, extremely crisp from McQueen. And Dries Van Noten, little more relaxed, a little easier, not baggy, boxy, but definitely much more relaxed in the fit, right? So fit is part of your aesthetics, is part of your brand DNA. You also want to think about your customer and how they gain weight. If your brand is targeting older women, okay, maybe perimenopausal, postmenopausal women, and you're talking about how they often gain weight in their middles, maybe your grade rule makes the waist more and more relaxed as the sizes get bigger. Okay, so just be a little thoughtful about your customer, how they can gain weight, their considerations for movement, all those kinds of things. With the whole menswear thing, it's really interesting because when you're grading, there are a couple of options. Okay, there is kind of the standard grading where a lot of the time when men gain weight, they start developing a tummy. Okay, you see this a lot, the pot belly dad bod. And so a lot of brands really cater to that body shape. But there are still men who are more pear-shaped, and they need that more addressed in their grade. And then there are dudes who are bigger, but they're fit. And so they don't really have a paunch, but they're just bigger all over. So who is your customer? How do they get bigger? How do they gain weight? How do they increase in size, whether it's muscle or fat or what have you? And how is that part of your brand DNA? And you should be addressing all those things. Another consideration is, what is your fabrication? Okay. So knits and high stretch fabrics, they're often sized small, medium, large because you can have bigger gaps between the sizes because the stretch accommodates the bit of, size tolerance in between the sizes. If you want something that's woven, has minimum stretch, like a 2% comfort stretch, or something that's more tailored, you have to be more exact. Something that people expect to be very fitted, like the perfect pair of jeans, you're going to have, a 29, a 30, a 31 at the waist, and then you can have different inseams. And so what are you going to do? Are you going to do a 30 inseam, 32 inseam, 34 inseam, or are you going to do inch by inch, 30, 31, 32? And so you want to think about all those considerations. You have to think about how much inventory you have to keep of all these sizes to make it worth doing the grade. Okay, so there's a lot of careful consideration that the brand should be making the decisions on. And I know a lot of you are probably sitting there thinking, this sounds really boring and I don't want to do it. But I often say it's control over convenience. You can hand it off to your factory and be like, oh, just figure it out. But I highly recommend you do some research and set things up yourself so that everything that you do, the sizing that you carry, the grading style, the grading rule that you have really caters to your brand's needs and your customers' needs. That's why the brand should set the grade rule. If you get lost and you might say, hey, factory, I don't even know where to start. Can you send me a grade rule that I can look over? And maybe you look it over and you want to make some changes. You looked at these books that I'm recommending and you're like, oh, this sounds better, or whatever you decide to do. You can make some changes to an existing grade, maybe. You don't always have to start from scratch, but you should still, as the brand, make those decisions. You should be the final decision maker on everything. So that's what it is in a nutshell. Designers, they need to be making the decisions. They need to be informed and educated to make good decisions for their brand. Therefore, they make the decisions, they make the grade rule, but they do not necessarily have to do the mechanics of pushing the pattern up and down, inside out, to make the grade themselves. Okay, I say this often. Designers should know what a baby roll hem is and when and what fabrics it is appropriate to use a baby roll hem for, but they do not need to be sitting at a machine and knowing how to do a perfect baby roll hem in organza on the bias themselves. Okay, so same thing in this case. Oh, I forgot my favorite question about grading. Hey, Zoe, you keep saying you don't know anything about grading or how to grade. Can you learn and then teach us? No. And you know what? I'm so flattered. I'm so flattered, but no, okay? And you know what? It's for your own good because you should learn how to grade from someone who has a lot of industry experience or even some industry experience grading patterns. I do not have the requisite experience. Okay? You should learn grading from someone who has the requisite experience to teach you. And I think I've been like pretty clear in that if I don't know something, I don't talk about it. I have literally just told you everything I know about grading and setting a grade rule. I don't know much about grading patterns themselves. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Anyway, give this video a thumbs up if you learned something new today. Share, subscribe, tell all the people who want to know about grading in your life about this video and how Zoe is never going to make another grading video again. So you might as well enjoy this one while it's up. And I will see you in the next video.